Hi everybody, I'm just about to show you how to make a bird's nest out of ivy. Ivy bends, but only when it's freshly cut, really. It can dry out and just be brittle as anything. I've got some willow and some ivy that I cut this morning. I'll show you what to do first. First of all, you have to get rid of all the ivy. Of course, I've done most of them. I've got a glove on. Seems a bit cruel, but the ivy has to be trimmed anyway. And you just pull it through your fingers the wrong way, if you can understand that, so that you're pulling the opposite way to the leaves, down towards the thick end. Once you've got quite a few ivy stems, then you can set about making a little bird's nest. And the good thing about weaving a bird's nest is that the birds will recognise it to be more like the house they usually would choose rather than a box. Of course, there'll be little spaces in it, and the bits where you've woven in and out would be lovely to tuck leaves in, and soft fluffy bits that they find outside, maybe dandelion heads and dog's hair. You know, I quite often brush my dog, and her hair will make for quite nice padding inside a bird's nest. So I brush her all over, and I pull all the hair out of the brush, and I leave it on hedges and stuff like that, so that the birds have got some things. An old lady told me that once. I never knew about it. So here's the first thing you do for a bird's nest, is make a little hole. It's a doorway for them to go into. Just like willow, you have the thick end in one hand and the thin end in the other. Cross over until you've got a little circle. Sort of goes into an SNP-ish shape. If you're Scottish like me, you'll know what I mean. And then you push the ivy in and out. I'm pushing this thin end in and out, round about, until you've made a little wreath. Can you see that? Now you could do it a couple of times so that you can see the circle easily. Oh, this is a very long bit of ivy. Here's a short bit. So with your next bit, to make the circle more circly, just go in and out again. My ivy is cracking, even though I just cut it a couple of minutes ago. In and out, and in and out. Don't trim anything. Just leave it the way you see it. I think I might just put this in and out as well. So it's a little bit dodgy looking. The birds don't mind. Now we're going to make the shape of the bird's nest. What I do is I have something to stick some sticks into. Excuse me while I move all my bits of sticks around. I've got some straight sticks of willow. These are willow tops. That's what they call them. I've wrapped them up in a damp cloth because that helps them to be bendy. I haven't bothered with the ivy because I've just taken that out today. this is quite fresh willow as well. Take a few sticks, you can see about this, and put them into something that you can make holes out of. I've made some holes. You can see I've used this lots of times out of this polystyrene box. So there's roughly a circle of holes, and you just plonk some straighter sticks into it. Obviously, if you don't have willow, you'll have to just use everything as ivy. And so I'm going to see if I've got some lengths of willow of ivy that I can just put into the holes. And that will double up. Put the thick end down the hole. It's all over the place. So this bit of ivy was nice and straight, so it would do quite well. Now I've got 2 sticks in every hole, 1 ivy and 1 willow. You can just use all ivy if you've got lots and lots of ivy. Try and get some straighter ends. My trimmings of my ivy are a bit bendy, mostly bendy. And here's a thick bit. And look at this, it's very random. Now, gather them all together. Can you see that? So that it's like a teepee. See that you're not going to see the top of this, but go up, bring this down a little bit, go up to one of the lengths that's way high up and just wrap it around all of your sticks so that it keeps them together. Can you see that? When you get to the end of your stick, put it in and out so that it tightens up. And doesn't roll back on itself. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing or not. Just finding a space and pushing sticks through. They should stay together in the teepee shape. Now, if you do that a few times, bring down the stick and put it through a space. Turn it round. What I'm doing is I'm beginning to form a piece that will go. You see them wrapping around. Doesn't have to be tight, just has to keep them together. Now I'm going to snip the top so that we don't have huge amounts at the top. I just snipped some of them. I'm going to use these snippings to go in and out at the bottom. In and out and round about, just like a basket. And that will keep your shape. Do that a few times. The first circle you go, you'll be going in and out and in and out. And then the second one, we go the opposite sides, out and in, out and in. If you understand that logic. I don't know if you can see that. I'm just weaving around and around. And you have to keep doing that for a little while until you're satisfied it's not all going to fall apart. Once you've done quite a few, I would say maybe 4 or 5 ivy stalks or stems. It should be beginning to hold together. The shape might be a bit dodgy. My shape is very dodgy. Bring round and round and round and round. Well, I've progressed my little ivy bird's nest, but we'll see how it's going with you as well. I've just sort of randomly put things in and out and in and out all over the place. I'm going to remove my little teepee from the polystyrene because I think it'll hold. I've done enough for it to hold together enough. And I'm going to show you a little bit of going around the doorway again, because sometimes I forgot that sometimes it's quite hard weaving in and out and avoiding the doorway. And we'll pull this out of this polystyrene. Great stuff. Now, believe it or not, there is a doorway there. If I put my hand in, you might see it. And the doorway is, in fact, here or there. You can see how random my weaving is with all the rest of it. Sort of very fairy housey, if you ask me. Now, there's the doorway here, and there's some sticky out bits of ivy, and I'm going to wind them in and out through the doorway. Just wind them around and tuck the ivy in somewhere. Because it's still a teepee, you can work from the bottom and pull things through. Can you see that? It's quite difficult, isn't it? There's the circle. Now, wee endy bits from weaving, I'm just putting through and around. And you can tuck them into the woven bits. That'll make it quite nice and solid. Just keep going around and around until you can see the open doorway. Well, just continuing on until you think you've done enough. Now, at the moment, we have a little teepee. It would stand on the ground, no problem. But we need to make it into a hanger. Now, at the top, you should be able to hang it up anywhere you like. You can see how untidy mine is, but I just look for space and put things in it, go round and round or in and out. I quite like them to be random and natural looking. That noise is my dog. She's here and she's just walked into something. She's a very crazy collie. Now, there's the bottom. It's all little stalks that can stand up. But what we're going to do is we're going to take some of our lengths. This is nice. This is a nice skimpy one. And feed it through. Just any space you can find. And bring it over to the other side somewhere until you've got, you're creating a bottom half that's rounded. You have to do that quite a few times, especially if all your bits of ivy are going to be that skimpy. Now I'm just pushing some ivy in, bring it over to the other side. Oops. And push it through randomly, any spaces. Oops. Can you see that? Pretty hard to see with this because it's all twigs. But what I'm trying to do is just create a bottom bit. I'm not weaving them in much, I'm just sort of placing them so that we're beginning to get a circle. And then put things over and under. Do that for as long as you like, actually. For as many as you like. It helps with filling in the top half of spaces as well. Just be careful around the doorway. So you end up filling things in very quickly, just when you don't want them to. It takes ages when you do want them to. When you've got a few going around, then you go in and out again. Join them up into one of the spaces of the fence piece that you've began with. Let's just keep doing that. It's quite therapeutic, really. Of course, the ivy does annoy me because it's all funny shape instead of nice and straight. I'm just keeping on weaving in. You can push down if you've only just placed these rounded pieces, you can just push them down whenever you need to. Just keep going over them. And into the other sides. I don't know, can you see it? It's crisscrossing over and creating a sort of a basket effect at the bottom. And you'll see, can you see? I should have a little bird that I should put in. And anyway, keep going. That's going to be the doorway. Then we're going to have a rounded bottom and a sort of a shape that goes like this. It's very organic. It's very lovely. And the birds will just think, this is just like home. That's what I'm hoping. Actually, this is the first time I've ever made these. I was asked to make some for a wee shoppy. And I think, great, because the birds need as much help as we can give them these days. With everybody wanting car parking spaces in their gardens instead of trees. It's quite difficult for them, isn't it? And I like birdsong. So these nests, of course, they're not for pigeons. They're for little birdies. I think you can see it coming together. I'll just keep working until I've got everything together, and then I'll, because it's too boring watching me for the whole time. Although I will show you that sometimes, oops, so this one's, you see all the roots on this, but I like to tie it together, the bottom part, if I can, with the little circly bits, so that it's going in and out and in and out in a circle. And that way everything will stay together, I hope. Don't know if you can see that. It's just going to go around and around. It's a bit hard to see that, but I'm quite pleased with the way it's come out. It's nice and bird-like and sort of untidy-ish, bits of ivy. I like all that. If it were all willow, I might tidy up some of these bits at the bottom. Or you can see at the bottom I just went over and over and over and over until it's all in. Well, there we have it. A lovely little bird's nest. A bird's nest home. I'm sure they'll be really pleased with this. Get round. You can just hang it up in a bush or in among your ivy. I think that's where I'll put it so that it's very camouflaged. I'm quite pleased, and I'm sure the birds will be pleased too. Tweet, tweet.